Something massive is unfolding with Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks, and the implications for global stability are difficult to overstate. The people making decisions about this right now are working with information that has not made it into public reporting yet, and the gap between what is happening behind closed doors and what is being presented to the public is significant. We are going to walk through the full geopolitical picture today, the key actors, the strategic interests, the historical context, and the most likely scenarios for how this plays out. This is the kind of analysis you need to navigate what is coming. Something fundamental is being left out of the public conversation about Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks. Not by accident, by design. The version of this story you have been given is incomplete in ways that matter enormously. And the moment you start filling in the gaps, the entire picture shifts. Over the next several minutes, we are going to walk through exactly what happened, who is involved, what the numbers actually show, and why the institutions that shape public opinion have had a very strong interest in keeping you focused on everything except the most important details. What you are about to hear is documented, sourced, and deliberately kept out of mainstream reach. The story of Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks did not begin where the headlines say it did. The real starting point is years earlier, sometimes decades, in a series of quiet decisions that attracted almost no public attention at the time. That is not a coincidence. When powerful institutions make choices that will eventually become controversial, they prefer to make them incrementally, when scrutiny is lowest. What we are watching unfold right now is the visible surface of a structure that was built in the background for a very long time. Understanding who built it, why, and what they expected to gain is the only way to grasp why events are playing out exactly the way they are. The reason Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks cannot be ignored is not the story itself, it is what the story reveals about the deeper systems underneath it. The timing is not accidental. This is happening at a moment when multiple pressure points are reaching critical thresholds simultaneously. The scale of the potential consequences is staggering in ways that most coverage is fundamentally unequipped to communicate, and the speed at which things could shift is faster than any official institution is currently preparing for. When you trace the connections between what is happening here and what is simultaneously unfolding in 3 or 4 other arenas, the picture demands serious and immediate attention. The figures surrounding Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks are being selectively presented in a way that serves a very specific narrative. When you go directly to primary sources, the actual reports, raw data, statements made before they were filtered through communications teams, what you find is dramatically different from what the public has been given. The cherry picking is not subtle once you know to look for it. Entire data series are being truncated at convenient points. Percentages are presented without the base numbers that would change their meaning entirely, and the most significant findings are consistently buried in appendices that journalists rarely read and audiences almost never see. Every story about Trump says Iran afraid to admit to talks has a cast of visible players, the institutions, officials, corporations whose names appear in headlines. But the people who actually absorb the cost of what is happening here are almost never the ones being quoted. The